Hello, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The online predator from Sussex who groomed girls as young as 12. Tonight he's facing 18 years in prison as one of his victims speaks out.
It completely destroyed me at the time. I was getting nightmares pretty much every night, and I couldn't even leave my house without feeling ashamed and embarrassed.
Jail for the thieves who stole diggers to rip out cash machines across Kent, costing businesses almost £2 million.
A gold medal winning gymnast from Kent on how he overcame major surgery to become the best in the world.
And as the southeast marks Armistice Day, we see the multimedia art installation in Folkestone that connects the present to the past. Good evening. A man from Worthing who sexually exploited girls as young as 12 online has been jailed for 18 years at Lewis Crown Court. 26-year-old Jordan Croft posed as a teenage boy to befriend his victims before threatening and blackmailing them.
The National Crime Agency described the case as disturbing and horrific. One girl told us how she felt trapped by Croft, unable to escape. James Dunham has our report.
Serial paedophile Jordan Croft shackled arriving at court after admitting trapping 26 vulnerable young girls' children in a warped online web of exploitation for his own sickening sexual desires.
It was consistently every second of every day that I had to be in contact and do whatever he wanted.
This young woman talks to me anonymously, having broken free from Croft's domination and control.
What impact did it have on you at the time?
I was getting nightmares pretty much every night, and I couldn't even leave my house without feeling ashamed and embarrassed. I never thought it was possible for someone to be into such messed up things and to put people through that.
Using 20 different online accounts, Croft initially posed as a teenage boy before revealing his self-acknowledged depraved identity. In one message he said, "I am a pedo, into girls 12 to 14. I have a degree in cybersecurity. I have completely covered my digital tracks." He would then send over a list of rules, including, "You must send any pics or vids I ask for, no matter what." Through fear, victims would message over material which is of a nature too graphic and grotesque for us to mention. Judge Christine Lang described Jordan Croft's predatory behaviour as lengthy, premeditated, sadistic abuse. He showed no emotion during sentencing, but as he was sent down, his victims and their families erupted into an almighty applause, a huge sense of relief after the blackmail and immense psychological harm they were all subjected to. Croft was reported to several English police forces. He was arrested in September 2019 by the National Crime Agency, holding his weapon. The fact his phone was unlocked allowed detectives to access his illicit library, containing some of the 900 indecent photos and videos discovered across multiple devices.
I've never been in a court where there's been so many victims. I just absolute admiration for the strength they showed. This individual has been offending since 2018, and police forces across the UK have been unable to identify him. The NCA took this case in April 2019, and we were able to identify who he was, get behind his encryption, get behind his anonymising tools, and we will continue to seek out individuals like this who operate online.
Described as a pathetic individual, Jordan Croft, who was jailed for 18 years, was also banned from having direct contact with under-18s for the rest of his life. James Dunham, ITV News.
Well, we can talk to Hannah Rushin from the NSPCC for more on this. Hannah, a truly shocking case. I mean, I guess some sense of justice today for the girls who were exploited, but sadly that isn't always the case for many.
Exactly. So what the case of Jordan Croft today shows is that he was able to use social media and private messaging as really easy tools to find and subject girls to what the evidence and the testimony show was really sustained and degrading abuse. So it really highlights the horrific impact that this online abuse can have on children, and the way that that can have an impact on victims for the rest of their lives.
What needs to change, do you think, systemically in terms of trying to make sure that not only does this not happen again, but the process of going to court and reliving their ordeal is made as easy as possible?
Yeah, so this case really needs to serve as a wake-up call for the Prime Minister to show that the government needs to keep their promise to children and families up and down the UK in bringing forward an online safety bill that would prevent this kind of abuse happening in the future. And we need to see that legislation brought to Parliament without delay, which would make companies' social media sites, which Jordan Croft used to conduct his abuse, would have a legal obligation to prevent that child abuse from happening and taking place.
And finally, what advice would you have for parents who might be watching this evening, worried about their children online, and how to spot the signs of online grooming?
Yes, so it can be really concerning to hear the details of the case this evening. And it's very important that parents and carers feel that they can have honest and open conversations with their children about the kinds of online activities that they are taking part in on social networks. So what app sites and games do they like to use? Who are they talking to regularly? And are they seeing anything online that might cause them to feel distressed or upset? And that's really important so that children feel they have someone to come to if they are experiencing abuse that is perpetrated online. And for any child that feels that they don't have someone that they can contact, they can receive confidential advice through Childline, either online or on the phone.
OK, Hannah Rushin from the NSPCC. We have to leave it there, but thank you.
In other news, a major technical failure is said to have caused an ongoing critical incident at South East Coast Ambulance. The system that helps dispatch ambulances went down last night, forcing the service to rely on telephones. The service said its systems are still not working fully and are urging people to only call 999 if it is for a serious emergency.
The campaign group Just Stop Oil has said it will halt its action on the M25. It comes after 4 days of disruption that's seen closures on the motorway, severe delays and multiple arrests. The group said it's giving time to the government to consider its responsibilities to the country.
Thieves who stole diggers and then used them to rip cash machines out of walls in a series of raids across Kent are behind bars tonight. Anthony Pemberthy and Stephen Davenport will spend years in jail for their role in the raids that closed businesses and led to losses of almost £2 million. Tony Green sent this report.
Their tools were crude but largely effective. Using a stolen digger, thieves rip out 2 cash machines from Tesco in Whitfield near Dover. Sometimes the repair bill was higher than the haul. Here at Tesco in Dymchurch, the damage closed the store, but the raiders left with nothing. These are just 2 in a series of 6 crimes that led to Anthony Pemberthy being jailed for 8 years 9 months and Stephen Davenport being jailed for 7 years 5 months, a sentence welcomed by Kent Police.
This is a really difficult crime type for us to tackle. There's lots of high risk. They're obviously in JCBs, diggers. On one of the offences, police cars were rammed and police officers were injured. And obviously from some of the CCTV footage we've recovered, you can quite clearly some of the offenders have actually got weapons, baseball bats in their hands, so they're ready to take on anyone who wants to confront them.
The crime spree began at the Co-op in Cranbrook, with nearly £30,000 in cash taken. 2 months later, it was the Esso petrol station in Staplehurst. Another 2 months, the 2 machines at Tesco Whitfield. At the end of January last year, a failed attempt at Morrison's in Northfleet, a 6-minute drive from the Kent Police HQ. A month later, Tesco Dymchurch targeted, but also a failure. The final raid was the next day at the Shell station on the Thanet Way in Dargate, and a £50,000 haul. Detectives were able to track down the 2 men using advanced DNA techniques. They were able to prove that Davenport was driving the pickup truck that was used in the Staplehurst and Cranbrook raids. Pemberthy, meanwhile, was shown to have operated the digger that was used in Staplehurst, Northfleet, Whitfield, and here in Dymchurch. The total damage, theft and loss incurred in all 6 crimes is thought to be more than £1.8 million. But after a 13-month crime spree, the police finally caught up with them. Tony Green, ITV News, Dymchurch.
Now you're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up on the programme this evening, we'll see the world from Gianni's point of view, a gymnast from Kent who has a spring in his step and another medal in his sights.
And on this Armistice Day, an audio-visual display in Folkestone that brings to life the past of the Great War.
More from us, of course, today on our website. Here are the details. itv.com/Meridian is the address. You can call us. 0808 1010 095 is the number. And as ever, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
It's claimed health services could be failing thousands of girls and young women living with autism, who often go undiagnosed until well into their teens and even adulthood.
Historically, autism was thought to be up to 5 times more prevalent in men and boys, but recent medical research suggests the ratio is much lower.
Yes, symptoms can be harder to spot in women, and delayed detection can mean they miss out on vital support. With our story, here's Nick Smith.
Autism is a general condition encompassing a broad spectrum of mental and physical traits. Sometimes the signs are very subtle. This can often be the female experience of neurodiversity. Anna Putt has 2 daughters. Her eldest Ellie is 12 and was diagnosed with autism in May after many years of confusion over why she struggled at school or would find certain situations difficult.
I have my behaviour almost instinctively, and I just do it because I want to fit in. I want to be like everyone else.
It felt a lot like we were not believed, that actually there was something that was different about the way that Ellie was learning and different about the way that she was interacting with people. And to try and prove it and gather evidence is really difficult. But what we found is that when you get to actually speak to people that know what they're talking about, they can see much more than even I could see in what was going on for Ellie, and they believed us really quickly. But trying to get access to those people is really difficult.
Cognitive behavioural therapist Susie Rowland has written several books on the subject and says current diagnostic procedures are geared towards the male experience.
With girls, you may get a lot of camouflaging, mimicking voices, social anxiety, that sort of thing. And in contrast to boys, you won't always get the externalising behaviours. So it can be more the little girl at the back of the class who is very quiet, and therefore their autism gets missed.
The Kent Autistic Trust is one of the few local support groups women can turn to, claiming often the condition can have real impacts well into adulthood if not properly understood.
Autism can impact on relationships. It's more about people's lack of understanding of the autistic individual and that they might need time to process a situation to give an answer. And therefore that becomes quite problematic in a relationship, either when autism isn't known about or whether it's a condition that people aren't aware of.
The black-backed and side-striped are 2 species of what animal?
The Chase star Anne Hegarty is autistic and was 45 by the time she sought out a proper diagnosis. Her advice for others is to embrace rather than mask their neurodifferences.
Try and make things as simple and straightforward for yourself. Try, as far as you can, not to actually do what you call masking, because in my experience, any autistic person that is trying really hard to be normal and blend in and be neurotypical, really, you can't get past 40 without saying, that's it, I can't do this masking thing anymore.
The Department of Health says a commitment to improve diagnosis of autism has been included in their recently published Women's Health Strategy for England. So those who are just embarking on their journey with the condition hope that in the future they can be far better understood. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30, of course. With details about their programme this evening, here's Lucrezia Mellerini.
A tough road ahead. Warnings from the Chancellor as the economy shrinks and fears of a recession grows.
It's not going to be easy. There are going to be some very difficult choices. I've used the word eye-watering before, and that's the truth, but we're going to make those choices.
Ukrainian flags and celebrations in Kherson as Russian troops withdraw from the city in a hasty retreat. And we meet the 12-year-old Ukrainian refugee whose football dreams have come true. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
So thank you. Well, we're talking football now because Andrew is here with your sport. Andrew, a big match for the Gills to get their teeth into.
Absolutely, yeah. The Gills, they will tame the Wolves, we hope. The 4th round draw of the League Cup has taken place and Gillingham are off to Premier League Wolverhampton Wanderers. The match will be played during the week commencing the 19th of December, so just after the World Cup final. Someone looking forward to the game is Gills fan Jim Staples. He told his colleagues he'd come to work in fancy dress this morning if Gillingham scored at Brentford in the Cup on Tuesday night. As they won, he really went for it. Top job. Brighton are at Charlton in their fourth round tie, but tomorrow is back to league action for our sides. Crawley and Gillingham tomorrow, while on Sunday Brighton play their last game before a 6-week break because of the World Cup, and they'll be hoping to go out on a high at home to Aston Villa.
I would like my team always start the game 150%, but for only one thing, not because the opponent can suffer, no. Because if you are playing at home, your fans can play with you, and you play in 12, not in 11.
Yeah, talk about going out on a high. Here is a story of triumph over adversity, with Gianni Regini Moran winning gold at the World Gymnastics Championships after major surgery last year. The Maidstone-based gymnast faced a career-threatening injury, but as Sarah Saunders found out, he's now set his sights on the Olympics.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Gymnast Gianni Regini Moran triple twist double back somersaulted his way into the record books when he became the first British man to become floor world champion. Incredibly, Gianni won the gold medal despite two potentially career-ending injuries.
You know, the journey that I've been on, injured kind of year in, year out. Last year alone I had 3 surgeries, and kind of I didn't really believe and I didn't really think it would be possible again to be at, a world level. And after everything I've been through, it's just all been worth it. I've never given up. There's times where I've wanted to throw in the towel. There's times where I'm like, do you know what, can I do this anymore? And the fact that I've stuck with it, I've persevered, and I've come out on top is just like the best feeling in the world.
And to win the men's team World Championships bronze medal, Gianni was joined by his Team GB and gym buddy, James Hall. They fought back from last place early in the competition.
You do routines, any mistakes you have to carry that, so it is pretty nail-biting stuff. Of course, we clawed our way back, and that is what is important about teamwork. It is not giving up until the end and trusting your team to do the job and to the very best they can, and they did, and we got a bronze medal.
There are some incredible world-class gymnasts emerging from the Pegasus Gym in Maidstone, with more medals this year at the Commonwealth Games and European Championships.
The tenacity and the perseverance they had to work day in, day out and prepare themselves for 3 majors this year, it's unbelievable.
I think the one medal I'm actually missing is an Olympic medal now, so if I can get that one, then obviously I'll have every medal from every competition. So
all eyes on Paris 2024. Sarah Saunders, ITV News, Maidstone.
Superb, and we look forward to Gianni going all the way. We'll be following him to Paris Olympics 2024.
It's not that far away, really, is it?
Before we know it.
Before we know it. Andrew, thank you.
Now, Armistice Day commemorations have taken place across the region, with a 2-minute silence observed at 11 o'clock this morning.
In Folkestone, a specially prepared light and sound exhibit also got underway, telling the stories of those lost in the Great War.
With more on the day's events, here's Kit Bradshaw.
In the cobbled streets of Canterbury, a moment to pause and reflect. A ritual of remembrance echoed across the southeast. From a Royal British Legion care home in Bexhill, where hymns were sung, to the Battle of Britain Memorial at Capel-le-Fern, where wreaths were laid. The end of the 2-minute silence in Folkestone also signalled the beginning of a new art installation at the former railway station where so many left for the front.
We're hoping that it will give people a space, particularly over Remembrance Weekend, to really reflect on the complexity of war, something that's so important, particularly at the moment, and to think about the legacy of war. So this artwork starts us in 1914 with the arrival of Belgian refugees, the departure of soldiers going off to war, and it takes us right up to the present day with the conflict in Ukraine.
Folkestone, particularly in the Great War, is the preeminent point of entry and exit to the Western Front. Every day, tens of thousands of men and indeed women are coming through this spot.
So really a very poignant setting for this exhibit, which is all about those individuals and their stories.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, when we were first planning something, we very quickly thought of Folkestone and the Harbour Arm as an apt space for that.
This is one of more than 20 art commissions across the country funded by the Imperial War Museum's Legacy Fund.
It's been really important to us actually to look at ways that people can engage with art and artist experiences in new ways. So not just in a museum, not just in those buildings that we all know and love, but actually out in the world in this beautiful setting here today.
This tribute to the fallen is especially poignant at the going down of the sun. The projections of a ghostly army consuming the old station walls. The soldiers march steadily on day and night until 11 o'clock on Monday morning. Kit Bradshaw, ITV News, Folkestone.
Well, today is the day, of course, when we honour members of the armed forces who have died in the line of duty and all those who have served their country.
Well, among them, the many women of wartime whose bravery and dedication helped win the Battle of Britain. But their contribution hasn't always been recognised, as Derek Johnson reports.
Anne Galley is 99. In wartime, she was a member of the WAF, the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, based in Biggin Hill.
My father was a regular officer in the Air Force. He was a big commander, and I was very patriotic. It took about a fortnight to learn what we had to do. We were called Clerk Special Duty, sworn to secrecy.
Anne's work was vital, and the WAF was vital before and after the Battle of Britain, doing jobs so men could be released for frontline duties. The newsreels of the day did offer praise, but also reflected their times.
Helping a pilot on with his harness and adjusting his safety belt, to say nothing of starting the plane, is all rather like sending hubby away to catch the 8:15.
Academic Sarah Louise Miller says many WAFs in the Battle of Britain were much more than they seemed.
One of the most important things is radar operations. So the network of radar stations around the south coast of England is largely manned by women. And they are reading information off of a screen, and at this stage it's very much raw data. And they need to be able to do calculations pretty quickly. A lot going on at once. Specialist skills are then largely trained on the job.
Some became intelligence officers, briefing squadrons. While women were helping drive the battle, they were also making aircraft. And some were pilots, flying planes from factories to air bases. Among them the late Molly Rose, who I interviewed in 2010.
You weren't allowed to fly anyway if you had a cold, but you certainly didn't ever go frail and sort of decided you didn't want to fly today. You jolly well got on with it.
Anne joined after the battle. She remembers great camaraderie.
It was shift work. Not very good for your indigestion because we had things like sticky buns and stewed up tea at 3 in the morning. It was a really wonderful spirit during the war. Everyone helped each other.
The few have rightly cemented their place in history, but they were not alone.
There were always women behind them who were in intelligence roles, gathering information and getting that information to RAF commanders who could actually order the pilots into the air. I think it's a great shame that they're so unheralded. It's not surprising because of the intense secrecy surrounding what they did, but they were such a key piece of the reason why Britain was able to win this battle.
In many ways, the women of the WAF were the hidden heroes of World War II. Derek Johnson, ITV News.
Amazing women then and now. Well, Pip is with us now. Pip, it's felt so warm again, and we're not surprised to hear that November already breaking records.
Yeah, that's right. It has been another exceptionally mild day out there. In fact, provisional figures suggest the warmest Armistice day on record by quite a margin, possibly by around 2 degrees. Official figures still to come. But last night was also a record breaker. Take a look at this. So we're looking here at the maximum overnight temperatures. It sort of messes with your mind a little bit. But previously, the record was set back in 1977, where the warmest spot overnight was Eastbourne, 14.1. You can see last night the numbers below that totally eclipsed it. 15.3 Celsius was reached, or didn't fall below 15.3 Celsius in parts of Lancashire. So that's a brand new record for the night into Armistice Day. So really quite incredible numbers. Yeah.
And this mild weather is confusing nature, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. We're seeing a lot of trees struggling after the dry, hot summer, but we're also seeing a lot of things blooming that we wouldn't expect to see. So take a look at this snap. This is a fuchsia. This has come in. This is the sort of thing we'd expect to see more in the summertime in our sort of patio pots and hanging baskets, but Colin Lennox-Gordon has this in his garden at this moment in time, really flourishing in the depths of November. But on the plus side, it's giving our wildlife a little bit longer to respond and get ready for the colder months ahead. So take a look at this one. This was sent in by Joyce, a blackbird enjoying a juicy grape there from the vines at the bottom of her garden, believe it or not. This little squirrel spotted by Paul in Eastbourne, busy stacking away nuts ready for the leaner months ahead. And how about this? I don't know who's more equipped for mild weather than terrapins. These were spotted by Matt and co in the relative warmth of the November sunshine in Herne Bay.
Is that what you were doing the other day?
Matt and co? Nothing to do with me.
No, not you.
Now, you mentioned Remembrance Sunday. Now, the tradition is if you're in a procession or you're in the Scouts or the Brownies or you're holding a flag, you're going to get cold.
Yeah.
But not on Sunday.
No, absolutely. It looks as though this mild weather will continue through tomorrow and into Sunday. It's set to be dry and pretty bright. Bit of murk first thing, but all good for the shorts.
All good for the shorts. Always good to know. Let's get a check on that full forecast for the weekend ahead as we hurtle towards it. Here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, it looks as though the exceptionally mild conditions will be with us for a little while longer, at least through the weekend, where we'll also be joined by plenty of dry and bright weather. But as we head into the new week, signs of a change, becoming a little more unsettled and a little bit cooler with it too. This is the current setup then. This is the jet stream dragging in very warm air from the south there. But over the next few days, it starts to shift position. It'll start to pull in low pressure from the west, fronts coming our way. And you'll notice the colours changing from oranges and reds to yellows, greens and blues, indicating that dip in temperatures to come. But that is still a few days away, and at the moment it remains very quiet and pretty mild. So through this evening and tonight, cloud thinning and breaking. Under the clearest skies, we'll see some areas of mist and fog developing, but it stays on the mild side. Temperatures for many of us holding up in double figures. Tomorrow morning then, a mild start to the weekend. Some mist and murk around at first, but this will gradually lift and disperse through the morning. And as we head into the afternoon, I think more in the way of sunshine to come our way. Temperature-wise, up on today's values, highs widely 15, 16 Celsius, 1 or 2 spots, perhaps 17 or even 18 degrees in sheltered spots inland. And these are your times of high water for tomorrow. Margate, 1:40 in the morning and just past 2 in the afternoon. Now, through the latter stages of tomorrow overnight into Sunday, it remains very quiet, some mist and fog at first, but otherwise a dry and fairly bright day. But you'll notice out towards the west, fronts starting to nudge in, and that will pave the way for a fairly unsettled spell of weather to come next week. Do take care. Bye-bye.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And that's how the southeast looks this Friday night. In just a moment here, the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Stacey is back with your late update this evening at the slightly later than usual time, I think. But for now, from the team, thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic weekend.
Happy weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.